Reality is a tautology. In logic, a tautology is when you have a logical statement that is true in any possible interpretation. A very simple example would be 1 equals 1. It is a tautology. You cannot argue against it or try to make it into something else. The issue is that everything that exists is a tautology, but we humans want to deconstruct everything to the ground. We want to find the true nature of things, the absolute nature of things. And then we spin our heads in trying to figure something out that is already obvious to begin with. We ask questions like, if I'm conscious and I have a human mind and a human body and I am me, then why am I not like another person? Why am I born in this life and not in another life? But the question doesn't really make sense. It's a tautology questioning itself. It's like asking, why is the number 7 and not the number 8? You already defined it as the number 7. In the same way, you are the only person you could be because you are you. Now, for the seeking mind that wants to find some meaning or purpose in life, this is often very frustrating. And all of spirituality, all of religions try to find a way around that. And eventually, if you contemplate and investigate the nature of your existence and look at contemplative tradition, they all point to non-duality, meaning that there is no separation between things. And what this at the end means is that everything is a tautology. Like how something is just what it is like. Now, of course, when you have somebody suffering, or like if you're suffering, or you see awful things happening in the world, then just saying it is what it is isn't very satisfying. It not being satisfying, sadly, doesn't change the fact that it is, in fact, the case. So most existential problems come from the fact that we do not accept what is, that we use the sense-making apparatus of the mind to resolve a problem that has no solution. And the ego hates that. We always want to make sense of things in order to feel in control or power in our lives. But there is genuine power here. It's in recognizing what is actually true and not trying to doubt the truth that you already know is the case. And for what this looks like in like a life, not just in some abstract philosophical terms, it's that if there's something that you must take care of in your life, then you should probably take care of it. If there are emotions you have not processed yet, it's probably time to process them. If there is a person you need to apologize to, it's a good idea to apologize to this person. If you are living extremely unhealthily and you know it is destroying your sense of well-being, then it's probably the time to care about your well-being and become healthy. These are just a few examples, and I could, of course, list on infinite examples. But usually the problem that you're dealing with isn't actually that existential. The existential aspect is kind of a crazy attempt from the mind to find answers to questions that the mind will never find satisfying. Because, reality is a tautology, and there's a way you can be in more direct contact with it and dissolve your sense of self in a way that you are in more immediate contact with existence. But you won't do this by obsessing about conceptual ideas or logical ideas, because the logical overlay of the mind is already on top of the actual experience of existence. And often what people are trying to do is they just always try to escape themselves out of existence mentally. Like they want to be able to think themselves out of their life or think themselves out of the problems that are confronting them each day. And this will never work, because something that is simply is. And you must confront it fully. And when you confront it fully and you adapt your own mental architecture to the reality at hand, then you can find genuine peace. Because if there's nothing resisting what is the case, then life flows naturally. And everybody who is looking for happiness and contentment in life, they're really just looking for the sense of flow. to not have to overthink what they do or who they are or what they want out of life. And they want to feel content in their life circumstances. But we have organized a society in which being discontent is rewarded. You need to be discontent so you can consume more. You need to be discontent so you can buy more products. You need to be discontent to compare yourself with other people to show that you're more worthy or higher in the hierarchy. And from this, of course, you start to feel the game is rigged, right? Society is like a farce. It's a scam. Like, you will never win this game. You will always run in in a treadmill that will never find its end. So then you move into the existential realm and you think about esoteric ideas and God and consciousness and universal wisdom. And these insights, they are valuable. Like, there's a lot of meat to reality. But most of the time, what you're just needing to learn how to do is how your body is processing all of the different tautologies. Because the mind is a processing machine. The brain and the body is a processing machine. Forget the mind. Everything that our body does is getting sensory input from outside and then processing it so that we can survive and react effectively in the world. And a lot of philosophical layers over life are just an attempt to process things that, we have not been able to process. And it's kind of part of why we're so intelligent as a species, right? We can think about metaphysical things that no animal, so as far as we know, does. So in a certain way, when you start to self-reflect a lot and think about the nature of who you are, like the tautology of your nature, then you start to investigate and notice, okay, so maybe there is actually no free will, for example. Maybe I'm determined to be what I am, and maybe there's no life after death, or maybe there is life after death. And then you kind of start to want to figure out the nature of reality or the nature of existence. And most of the time, you get stuck somewhere because you're finding something so incredible, so intense, and so vast that you cannot believe it. And then you have a truth in front of your eyes that is so ginormous that the reasonable reaction is to deny it. And imagine if you're already denying like simple basic things in your life, suddenly you're confronted with the true nature of reality or something that is so gigantic that you start to freeze. There, a lot of people start to build layers to protect their own mind, to not have to think about all of these, extremely troubling truths as well. Like, the idea that if we are all in this reality together and it's all true, then am I not also the pain of other people? And then you start to empathize more with others and you look more into things humanity has done, and it becomes quite dark or stark. So then you have something new to protect yourself against, which is just, another way to not accept what is actually real and what is actually true. It's a skill, like having a good life is the skill of recognizing that all you're doing really is processing inputs, and to find a way to manage those inputs in a way that flows through you easily. And the main blockade for this flow is the ego. The ego is the sense of identity that says, I'm me, but it's not what you actually are. Like, you are all of the atoms in your body, all of your organs, all of your past experiences. Like, you're so much at the same time. And in this moment, you're all of the experiences that you've had crashing into this moment and being in this present experience. But the ego doesn't think about it this way. The ego thinks it's a solid thing that is separated from external reality. Instead of being reality, it's like a point within your own awareness that is separated and isolated from reality. So everything that happens to this imaginary sense of self. And then everything gets personalized. And all of your personality structure, all your behaviors, they are getting formed around this sense of self. By the way, if you find these conversations extremely interesting, then check out my Discord. You can enter it by subscribing to my Substack. I want to host a live event next week where you can, debate me live or just inquire about your own frameworks and your own belief systems. I wouldn't necessarily call it a debate because I don't really have anything clearly to defend, but I like to challenge your ideas in front of an audience. So yeah, check the link in the description for that. What I want you to see is that if you look externally on what is happening in your experience field, that no matter what you look at, like no matter what object it is, no matter what what thing you perceive, this sensation of experience is a tautology. You cannot argue against what is happening in your experience. It is, you can try, like you can argue against it, like that's what the mind does, but you're not gonna get anywhere. It's just, if you notice that you focus your attention on your breath, and you notice how it's like to breathe. Like today I did jhana meditation for like 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I just focused on the tip of my nostrils, and then I got into a very pleasurable state. And when you focus on a sensation, then what tends to happen is that this ego filter starts to thin out. Because instead of problem solving your life, instead of trying to make sense out of what is happening, you're just focusing on what is actually real, which is the sensation you experience. So you start, by focusing attention on your actual experience, you start to thin the mechanism in your head that tries to make sense out of what it perceives. And from this thinning of the sense-making apparatus, you start to notice that your mind can quiet down, and everything you were thinking about isn't actually that real or that important. And intense bliss states, both through meditation or through psychedelics, where everything is being perceived as being loving or kind or just harmonic, comes from the thinning out of this sense-making mechanism in the mind. It's like reality on its ground floor is likely a quite coherent thing. And this coherence, depending, of course, what metaphysical beliefs you hold, but it's likely a very pleasant quality. So if you learn how to remove all of these obsessive tendencies of the mind, you will naturally start to feel that reality has almost a benevolent quality to it, which from the perspective of the ego is unbelievable, because you spend your entire life trying to protect yourself from reality in a way, because it's there to kill you, right? It's there to destroy your body, so better protect yourself. So from this point of view, it is first important to recognize that things are what they are, although this might sound a bit trite or deflating. But also from there, you can actually look at the thing and you can actually access what the truth is. You don't have to imagine what the truth is. You don't have to conceptualize into some other dimension or reality or whatever. You can actually be present for it and look at it directly, because there's no moment of your life where you don't have direct access to what is true. So yeah, if you want to get your ego audited, then check the PDF in the description. There I tell you everything about my one-on-one service. And also remember to check out the Discord community. And until then, see ya.